Hello and welcome back everyone to, once again, Project Vooperia, which is starting to look like an actual game. We're getting to that point where everything we add is actually visible. It's not anymore just a ton of engine work. This is actually getting slightly interesting to watch, and we just hit 34,000 subscribers, so congratulations to us for that. Let me actually pop the subscriber count onto the video on the top left there. Just give me 2 seconds. Oh, that doesn't really work for the programming because I put my code over there, but we'll try to make this work, okay? We'll try to make this work. Let's see what Social Blade says about us. Let's see. Just for some fun, because Social Blade has been... Darn it, I have a space between Spike and Viper. This darn dude copying me. Let's see, where are we? Here we are. We're in the top 200,000 here. We're up 48% this month for views, and up 100% for subscribers. It's looking very good. Very, very good for this channel. And here's our live sub count. And let's watch that pop up a little bit. 34,109. How beautiful. So... hello Spiel, welcome to the live stream, and today we're going to be looking at biomes, as said below. Also, you'll notice I've upgraded to Unity Plus because dark theme, better for eyes. And here we go. So I just need to tweak something very quickly here. This should be 30, or maybe even 35. Just, it shouldn't be 40. Because my logic was slightly off there. So let's look at what we've got here. Simple biomes, and I will explain how they work in just a second after I show off what they actually are. So if we hop into the game, let's wait until we fall. Hopefully it's somewhere you can actually see the biome. No, this is just going to be... a lot of the biomes look similar right now because there aren't trees or anything. I've been working on making them look slightly different. I'm going to be working on making them have different tints to grass and stuff. Let's see. Apparently someone from school is here. That's interesting. Who do we have here? I mean, I see someone from the Discord, but you know what? I'm just going to continue. Oh, in the Discord. Okay. Okay, that was an odd one. I've never had that glitch before. We're gonna find that one later. Okay, so we're in the middle of a desert. Let's do a little bit of exploring because I just want to. Oh man, this is going to be slightly laggy considering the stream uses a lot of CPU in this terrain generation, even though it's done on the GPU. So we can see that over here it's getting a little bit, and then over here this needs a little bit of work, this gradual change. But at the moment we have a little bit of biomes kicking in. So there's 2 systems this goes off of, and I'm going to explain them both. We'll be able to see them here pretty clearly, even though, yeah, I agree, that doesn't look good, but I know how to make it look good, so I'm not too worried at the second. And this transition period should be stretched out way longer, because that's actually a biome, that's not a transition period, and that would be a really small biome. So after Unity finishes crashing, let me actually explain how the system works and why it's so great, because it's pretty great. Because instead of just throwing random biomes all over the place, it actually makes slight sense, which allows me to make it look good. Quote unquote good. Not good yet, good in the future. So this is what's important right here, this biome map. This is where everything happens. So you're gonna see really quickly that there's 2 things we depend on here, which is the moisture map and the altitude. So if it's really low and dry, we get scorched biome. If we're really high and moist, we get frozen. All the really high are frozen to give us nice ice caps. But then we have tundra and taiga and parched taiga and dry grassland and forests and tropics and marshes and grasslands and savannas and desert. And basically it all depends on two things: moisture and altitude. And knowing these two things, we can basically extrapolate which one we're at. Say we have 60 moisture and we have 450 altitude. Well, it's the forest. And what I'm trying to do right now is the savanna is slightly... when you get towards the dry and the savanna is more sand, and when you get towards the moist area, it gets more grass. So I'm trying to bridge the gaps here. It'll take a little bit to actually do that, but we're working on it. It's being worked on, which is what matters. So let's see if we get any good examples of the... fine, I'll remove the sub count. Give me 2 seconds. Bam, I moved it. There, it's moved. We need a good... First off, I'm going to turn off Steam. I've been using Steam integration with the game, so you'll see that down here it says Spike Viper. That's it actually debugging and saying my Steam login ID. Actually, if I jump onto Steam, it thinks I'm playing something right now, but I don't actually... I fluffed the number for the Steam ID, so it thinks I'm playing a game that doesn't exist, and so it's just a random game. It thinks I'm playing Space War. That's not a game that you can buy, so I'm successfully convincing Steam I'm playing something. I just need to get an actual Steam developer license at some point. Which, if someone wants to super chat $100, I'll do right now. Oh, geez. Getting greenlit would be complicated. I don't think I have enough people. Like, even with these streams, how big is Infinite? Well, we can do some math, actually. If you want to know how big Infinite is, so computers... Well, the GPU I'm using for the generation uses 32-bit numbers, which means each bit can hold twice as much information. So all we have to do... Okay, so, is we have to find out how much information that can hold. And because it's also going into the negatives, it gets slightly more complicated. But I can find you the exact number pretty easily. All I have to do is jump into a script. It doesn't even matter what script I open. And then if I do int.max value, that's going to be well, let's count the digits here. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 digits, which brings us to the point where you can't walk that many blocks realistically. And let me say that even after we hit this point, the game will not break. It will keep going. We will just get really weird generation, and I can show you guys that for 1 second. Let me just show you guys what happens when we go really far. Further than the noise maps are meant to generate. What it does is it tries to round numbers to save space, and it actually makes things that look really interesting. I'm just going to show you guys for the sake of science and learning. If we go into my compute shaders where we have the height map here, if we add a ridiculous number onto the end of this, so we want to be barely outside, so we're going to do a 10-digit number with a 2 to start. And we'll do this for... Oh, shoot. So the problem is I have so many noise. What we're going to do is we're going to actually set the seed to be something extremely high, something too high. So if we go into world... Yes, the sprint speed is ridiculous because it's not a game yet. That's just so that you can explore. So if we go in, we're going to comment this out, and we're going to do seed equals, we'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So now we have 11 digits, and what this is going to do is, it's not going to let me do that because it's too big of a number. But what I can do is I can give it the highest number I can, and then if we go any higher than that, we'll start to see weirdness. So ready for this? We're going to quickly see what happens when we push it too far. Here we are. So this is beautiful. Now you may be asking, what is actually happening here? I don't know. This is when the integers are actually becoming too big for the game to pass off, so it rounds it, and it ends up, when we get towards the end, interesting things happen. It starts counting the blocks in 2x2s versus 2s, and we can see there's some land over here that looks somewhat normal, but let's push it a little bit lower. How about we, instead of going this, we'll go that minus 1,000,000. If we subtract 1,000,000, I think we're gonna see some of the weird effects, but not all of them. It won't be completely fluffed, but it'll be pretty interesting. I've been testing on this before because I've been curious. Yeah, so we're gonna see it just, there's these strange pillars, and like, oh wait, look, it's flat. We've got these, I told you, it starts generating things in these huge cubes instead of per block to try to save memory. Because of the floating point numbers. So you'll see that it's actually generating like the mountains, but it's generating them out of these huge cubes, and it's beautiful. This is what happens when when the floating point numbers just don't make sense anymore. The shader tries to pass the numbers off, but it starts rounding them. Very, very, very rounding them. And so instead of getting smooth blocks, we get these huge chunks. And this isn't even per chunk. This is how big a chunk is, so it's just going absolutely insane. Of course, the closer we get to the less ridiculous we make it. So if we go add another 0 to this, let's not go quite as far. Let's bring ourselves a little bit closer to not ridiculous, and then we're going to see that it starts to get a little bit less weird, but it's still kind of weird. Okay, this is still too far. We need to go in way closer. Let's just we'll add a 0 each time, and you guys will eventually see. I do want to actually work on this, but this is actually something really interesting to me, because the way computers handle numbers, seems like it's just doing the same thing again. Okay, so we need to get way closer. I found a point where it was basically like half broken, but you could still tell that the computer was trying. It was making an attempt. Okay, that's too big of a number. Okay, how about that? I think this is gonna work. Now, we still just got weird generation stuff going on here. So the answer is, it is infinite, but after a point of walking for several years at cheaty speeds, you will actually run into some issues, and I think that can be said for anything. If you push it far enough, it'll start acting weird, but for the most part, it's infinite generation. To what point? To the point where it doesn't really matter. You're not going to notice anything for a very long time, and by the time you do notice it, you'll be dead. Walking that far, even with the ridiculous sprint speed I have it on right now, would take actual years. It wouldn't... It's not a problem that I actually have to worry about. So we got some stone mountains here coming out of the sand. Once again, I'm gonna work on smoothing things out. Right now it looks kind of just cut, but that's what we're doing right now. So we're going to work on smoothing things out that look bad. Some things we won't be able to do because we can't predict what biome will be next to which occasionally, but we can do this pretty well, as in like 20% well. Nah, more like, I think we can get about 80% of the weirdness gone. And our first goal here is going to be lowering this number here. We also have to set a random seed in the very beginning. So, one second. I need to jump over to my code. And over at world, we have to set the random seed so that it's the same every time. Random.seed. Random.state. Okay, what am I supposed to... Unity engine.random state. This is new. What do you want me to do here? Random.state. Random.state. Oh, okay. That's not overly complicated. I get it. There we go. Really? Really? You don't accept a seed. Okay, we're not gonna worry about that. I'll use Microsoft's random class if we have to. That's fine. We're just gonna start it here to make it simpler. Okay, so let's pop this over here. So there's a few things we have to work on here. The most obvious one you just saw. So we have to fix Biome Desert and Biome Stone from actually murdering each other. Because if I pull up the resources biome map, if we pull up the biome map, these, when you go up, it just goes straight to that, which looks bad. We don't have any more cases where it looks bad going up, so we kind of just have to settle these two. And that's pretty simple. We just have to go over to... which one are we going to mix? Are we going to mix the desert into the stone or the stone into the desert? I think we're going to do the desert into the stone. So we're just going to go over to our biome. Let's just quickly do this so that doesn't murder anything. Added biomes. Publish now. Yeah, there we go. Bam. That just stores it in a cloud so that if my computer dies, I don't work all of my work ever. And I can also go back in time, so all of the versions are saved. So Biome Stone is down here. And we're going to see that this is the least complicated thing ever. But we're going to slightly complicate it now. So we're going to do int rand equals random. Random. You don't know what random is, do you? No, you don't. We have to import. Using Unity engine. At the moment, we're probably going to switch that later. Using random.range. And that's going to be between 0 and 100 for the sake of fun. 0 and 100. Okay. So. And then we have to do... Okay. If rand is greater than... So we want the percentage... So if it's at the height of... If it's at the height of exactly 500, it has to always return sand. So we have to do 500 divided by... 500 divided by height. 500 divided by height would be 1. So if it's greater than 100 times that, else return block types dot block sand. And what this does is it gives it a bit of nice variation, adding a little bit of randomness. And the randomness technically, yes, the shovel hand glitch, the water placing glitch, both fixed. Was not complicated to fix. It's all good now. Okay, we're in the ocean. That's not where I want to be. Okay, come on. Come on. Okay, so we can see over here the nice, and then it just stops. Because of the height, it just stops here. That's okay, though. We're not going to complain. Some things just aren't going to look perfect, and they're going to be easier to ignore after we actually have... Whoa! Division by 0. Okay. So, what did we divide by 0? Divided by height. Oh, shoot, that's true. That is actually because we're getting the... Oh, we don't know the total height. Okay, so the plot thickens. We should be doing height divided by 500. Not 500 divided by height. Slight mistake there. The infinite placement glitch should also be fixed. Should. I'm not 100% sure about that one, but I haven't been able to recreate it on my own. Okay, so we got some nice beach over here. It appears that this is just some nice ground. And we're going to go hunting for a mountain desert, which shouldn't be too hard. We've got some hills here. It shouldn't be too far off in the distance. Do. Adventure. Walking Around Simulator 2017, guys. It exists. And as we can see, something actually did happen. It is not impressive at all. But there is sand there. So where we made our mistake was we flipped it. Pretty sure that this should honestly be the... It doesn't seem to be changing by how far it's going up. So we've definitely made a mistake. I'm not sure where, but there is a mistake. So let's look at our logic again. You're gonna crash, that's fine. Let's just look at logic. So if height is less than or equal to 0, that's correct. Random. And then it's height divided by 500, which means if it'll be greater. Okay, so we have a mistake here. Okay, so the higher it is, Huh. Okay, let's try this. When can we expect to see more? That's a great question. As I program it, the only thing limiting this is my low budget of $0. So if you want to help development, considering the game's also going to be free, then the best way to help is to pitch in with a super chat or something, and then I can get slightly better stuff for this. But no matter what, the game is going to be developed. It's just a one-person job, so things take time. Okay, let's pop off of here. We need to find sand. I can export a Mac version of the game. That is something I can do. I haven't done it, but it would take me like 30 seconds to do, so... Okay, maybe more than 30 seconds. But it is very possible to do, so if you remind me at the end of the stream, when I upload the new downloads, I will go ahead and make a Mac version. Phones, probably not. This thing needs DirectX 11 to run, and phones, as far as I know, do not have integrated graphics that good. That's the only limitation of the game. And let's see, if I go on Unity, so I have my error logging where it sends me the errors people get so that I can figure out what the problems are. I'm pretty sure the only problems people have actually had with the game not working is with DirectX 11. Because of how I generate the noise. Let's see, Vooperia. Hey, here's our beautiful reports. So we can see that we have most of these reports are from me, actually, so it's slightly more complicated than that, but I created a special report. Active players 8. Whoa. Exciting. Honestly, I'm more interested in seeing a few statistics coming back from it so that I can see the people who crash, what hardware they're running, but I think we're pretty much fine. Now I need to rethink this because this is wrong. We need something, we need this to be always, we need this to be false unless it's over like 50 more. So 1 second. Let me do some logic. If random, so random 0 and 100. So if random is greater than 100, and then we need to weight it. So we have to do times height divided by, and then we need to get the height at which so we need this to return 100 for things. So we're gonna flip these actually. Darn it. Why am I having such problems comprehending this now? What did I do here? thought moisture divided by 30 because 30 was the level at which it started to go towards desert. So it starts to go towards desert at 450. So okay, then that's gonna work for us, I think. You know, this could be completely backwards, but we will figure all of this out. So after all of these biomes are working quote-unquote properly, the next step is going to be adding actual like plants and stuff, which after I get the biomes generating correctly, I have to make sure they generate the same way every time. So that multiplayer, one person doesn't see grass while the other person sees sand. Which that will actually be slightly complicated. We've got some tall mountains, but our altitude's too low to actually... Alright, jump, 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 jump. So what do we have here? Absolutely nothing. So flip this back. I'm going back and forth here with my logic. One second. Noise map problem, huh? One moment. Let's see. Game Devo. At the same time. Do we have any stone? Come on, I need a big desert hills, man. Big desert hills to actually see what I've done. Oh, that may actually be right. Okay. It's kind of weird looking at this because it's like so much better than it was before. And it's weird to see your own work like start looking good. I did not expect it to get this far, honestly. I was hopeful, but okay, let's see the problem over here. Modding, blah. Do. That's not a problem. That's just it getting very amplitude-y in an area. It's, so basically the way the maps interact with each other, things can get pretty extreme if the certain conditions are met. That's not really a problem, it's just cool and kind of rare. I could turn it down, but I think people will like it getting a little bit crazy in some areas. There's a reason we haven't seen any snow-capped mountains yet, and it's because we haven't found anywhere where we haven't been lucky enough yet. As much as I'd like to see them. So these ones are tall, but they're too low. And you may be confused when I say tall but too low, but there's a few different factors that depend on each other. There's the altitude of the mountains, and then there's the total altitude of the continent. And those... Let me show you how we create a continent using our favorite tool, Paint. Because Photoshop takes too long to start up. So first, we have the water level. And that's set by me. That's at 350, I think. Yeah, 350. And then we say anything that's slightly... Okay, where is... We won't get into biomes yet. Then we generate a continent. So it goes... The continents are pretty much... They jut up like this, and then they're flat on the top. And so you may be saying, well, it's flat. That's terrible. Well, then we add a little bit of noise, which gives it a little bit of bumpiness. And some hills and stuff. Some bigger hills than others, but it still doesn't look very good. So then I add another type of noise called rigid noise, and this creates really big mountains, but I multiply that by another kind of noise so that it isn't all over the place. So now we have like 3 kinds of noise working together, and then depending on the moisture map, which is kind of random. It could be more moist on one side or the other, but depending on that, it says, well, this is pretty moist and it's high up, so we're gonna make that into a snow cap, and we'll make this into stone, and then everything near and under the water is beach, so beach. It's amazing art, and I hope you guys understand. Since it's a multi-layer system, there is a lot of different things that can happen, and even I can't predict what'll happen sometimes because it's so complicated at this point. There's actually 7 layers. It's beautiful. It works, is what matters. And because of the 7 layers working together very well, we see that we have plains sometimes, we have crazy mountains other times, we have deserts and what's going to be savannas and marshes and just desert wastelands. Aha, this is what we want. So honestly, there isn't much stone, but you know, it may actually look better like this, so I may keep it. Let's go to the top. We've got our desert area, and then we can see over there a bit. We've got a grasslands. So we're just gonna hop over through the lag. Do. My computer is not happy with the streaming and playing at the same time. I don't really blame it. That's some serious multitasking there. I want to show you guys some snow-capped mountains, but I have gotten very unlucky when it comes to looking for it. So, before I pull out my hair figuring out some of the more complex biome-related stuff, how about you guys tell me something to make? It can be a block for a biome, or a feature, or just something. Obviously, it can't be ridiculous. It can take a good amount of effort, but probably do it within like a half hour is our goal here. What should I add? Oh, good job crashing, man. Good job. Lakes already exist. They're just slightly rare. Okay, fine, we'll do trees. But trees are going to be extremely complicated. Yeah, I knew you guys were gonna say something like trees. This is okay, so we need to add some stuff. There's a lot of things we have to do here for trees. First off, we have to modify the base biome class. And we're gonna make a new thing that says public virtual void populate chunk. Oh, geez. Okay, this is going to go a bit over my head a few ways, but that's fine. We'll figure this out, kind of. So let's go to Biome Forest, since that's the one. Actually, no, we'll just have the default one to start. If they don't override, it's fine. Okay, so. Okay, this is going to be fun. It attempts equals random dot range. I hate using random like okay, we have to find a way to use random in a way that it will always return the same thing for the same chunk. I think we're going to have to create a, not random password generator, jeez. Random. This is good reading, guys. This is what we read. Do. Okay, so we have to come up with a random number that correlates to each chunk, but the chunk has to always have the same random number. This is critical, like really important that it's always the same. So, I usually do this on a piece of paper, but I'm gonna do my best to write this out here. So, one moment. No. Okay, so here's where it gets complicated. It needs to return the same thing for each chunk. Two chunks should not have the same seed. And overall, this is going to be fun. So what we'll do is we'll get the seed for the world so that it's different for each world. We will multiply it by the chunk's x. Subtract the chunk y. And add the chunk z. Cryptography experts will completely... Paul, post it in the Discord. Cryptography experts will hate me for this because it's really bad, but you know what? It'll work. So each chunk is going to have a random chunk. Public random, and it has to be a system dot random. The random generator for this chunk. This is really important for many reasons. So when we initialize, we're gonna do random equals new random, and then it needs to have the seed in it. And this seed is going to be localvars.world.seed times chunk x minus chunk y plus chunk z. This gives us a little bit of freedom. These won't come up. We should probably do minus divided by chunk z or squared. Here, you know what? We'll do even better. We're gonna do even better because I do not believe my own. So we'll do that to the square root of that divided by the chunk z. And instead of multiplying, we'll do plus so that it doesn't get too crazy. But that should be pretty safe for a good seed. This will always return the same for the same chunk in the same world, which is good. Now, we have to go through every single biome we actually used random in. So we did this for Biome Stone, Biome Savannah. No, I did it for those. And then all we have to do is do random, oh shoot. Things get way more complicated now. This is just excellent. Okay. So we have to do complex stuff now. We have to also pass the chunk here. That had to be done anyways at some point, so I guess that's not the end of the world. Good job, man. So get chunk, and we're gonna do some magic. Because they all need access to the chunk, there are now boom, 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 boom. And that gives us, that's one we don't actually need to open. Add, save. Add, save. Add, darn it. Save. Add. Oh, I'm doing Control B instead of Control V. Good job, me. No. Add. Oh, jeez. And now you can see me failing at typing the word chunk. Do 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 ba do 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 do. Wow, this does the exact same thing. I'm assuming this is supposed to be, what is it, dry grasslands? This is supposed to be dirt. I'm desert. Bam. Why is this named Savannah? What? Yeah, a few mistakes mixed in there. That's fine. There we go, that's good. That's all good. Now we just need to find the ones that had random in it. Okay, bam, bam, bam. Then we just have to throw the chunk in here too. Do we pass the chunk? Yes, we do pass the chunk. Yay! That makes things so much simpler. So chunk chunk dot random dot next. And now we have random numbers that will always repeat the same thing. And that's important because that means that in multiplayer, people will all get the same result. So that one person doesn't see something completely different than the other. Which I think you guys should get why that's important. If you mine stone on your computer and the other person mines iron on theirs, it would get really weird. But what really matters is populating the chunk. So, okay. This is gonna be fun, isn't it? For int let's explain how to do this first before I actually get into it. So you may be asking, how are you going to generate trees? Well, we have fancy methods to do this. So we've got our chunk, right? This is our chunk. We're going to ignore the chunks all over the place otherwise. We'll actually go from a top view here. Let's say that this chunk only has 4 blocks. But let's say one of them is stone. Yeah. So let's say 2 of them are stone, 1 of them is sand, and 1 of them is grass. Well, how do we tell it, put a tree on the grass? Well, it doesn't know that it's grass, because that would take so much processing power to have everything check each other. So instead, we send a raycast down to each one, and we say, hey, are you grass? No. Hey, are you grass? No. Hey, are you grass? Yes. Hey, are you grass? No. Now, the major thing about this is that you may be saying, well, you're still asking each of them. No. No, you're not. Because you're forgetting that chunks are 3-dimensional, and they go down infinitely. So while we are asking every single one on the top, we are not asking all of the millions of blocks down below, and that saves a lot of time. So now we're going to be doing what's known as magic. So what this is known as is raycasting. We're going to be raycasting, and it's literally just sending a ray down and checking what we hit. But we have to do it. Do we have to do it? No, we only have to do. Let's just do it a random amount of times. Pop count, so the amount of things we're going to populate equals chunk dot. This is a really bad way to do it, by the way. I'm going to completely change it in the future. But we're just getting a really basic thing done here. Okay, int pop count equals chunk dot chunk.random.next, and we're just going to do, we'll have between 0 and 5 attempts to make a tree. Oh no, we haven't rendered the chunk yet. That makes things so much more complicated. We have to render the chunk first, and then we have to send a second render. Oh my. Or not. Or not. Okay. So thinking about this. So that's not going to work because I'm not doing 2 passes, because that would be ridiculous. That would actually be slightly absurd. So instead, we're going to do Yeah, I'm not making my game twice as laggy to add trees and stuff. Instead, we're is it that much better? Because we're going to. Okay, so if chunk dot. So we're gonna do something special in the future, but we can't do that yet. Okay. So there is a lot of different things I'm thinking about right now. Because when there's a few different types of lag in my game we're going to be talking about, and those are going to be the lag for rendering, which it needs to get the entire chunk, go through it, generate all the triangles, vertices, and meshes, and that's really laggy. That's about half of the lag in the game is caused by that, and even though I've sped it up a ton, that's still a huge problem. And then there's just plain running a ton of numbers through. I think running a ton of numbers through is going to be much better than adding more rendering calls. So what we're going to do is we're going to do for, and we're going to leave a note here for myself. We're going to say add a surface check later, because we only really need to do this for chunks that are the surface. If they're underground, there's no point, and if they're in the middle of the air, there is no point. So we just have to keep that in mind. But right now we're going to do if the chunk dot air chunk. So if it's not an air chunk and chunk dot solid chunk. So if it's not an air chunk and it's not actually solid chunks technically could be on the surface. Shoot. Actually, I have a special. Can I actually do mesh? Chunk mesh generator dot chunk vis. No. Oh, geez, this is actually going to come in clutch for once. Something I didn't think I would ever use. Oh, that's pretty neat. So instead of doing this, if the chunk isn't an air chunk, so if it actually isn't completely made of air, and if it's not a solid chunk, or okay, so we're gonna have to add another pass here. Public bool is solid visible chunk. If it isn't a solid chunk, return true. Else, if it's visible like that, return true. Else, return false. So we just made a quick method to handle that for us. That's going to make this up here look a little bit simpler. And then we can say if is solid visible chunk. And now we basically just have to put the code to actually do stuff in here, because now we've said, well, it isn't completely air, and there's actually going to be blocks we can place stuff on. So now we do a little bit of fun. Now only the top blocks are grass, so we have an easy check here, and we're going to say for x equals 0, x is less than 16, which is the length of the chunk. X++, which basically says go from 0 to 16, and each time you do it, just add 1. And then we have to do the same for the two different directions. So we're going to go bam, bam. Then we're just going to switch it to y and z. It doesn't really matter what direction we go in here. Sometimes there's certain math we can do, but right now there isn't. Or is there? Actually, there is. I take that back completely. We can optimize this a tiny bit more by doing this, because we actually do already know the surface blocks for these chunks. Because we just have to say world localvars dot world dot get, what is it called, height maps, new vector 2, swap that for that, new vector 2, and that's going to be chunk dot chunk x, chunk dot chunk z, and say int data. So we're going to steal this because that's actually very useful for us in a lot of ways. So instead of just randomly checking every single y block, we're going to instead actually find the surface. Now this is using a lot more memory, which may be worth it. I'm just trying to take the load off the CPU right now. And that's, right now, we're using under a gigabyte of RAM for this game, so I'm not too concerned. Now we can do int height. Okay, so that's, do we have to actually do this for every single x and y? No, we don't. No, we don't. That's actually, that would be stupid. So only if we have to, we find this for the chunk, and then we do the height equals data x plus z times 16, I think. Yes, 16 times 16 is 256, which means that's the first passive data, which means we're good. So now we have the height, and then we just have to say, so now we know what blocks we're looking at. We know which ones are on the top of the chunk. So now we just have to say, well, can we put a tree there? And we should probably put... Okay, so we're going to say, can we put a tree there? But only if we decide that we should. So we're going to do int rand equals random chunk dot random dot next, and we're going to tell it to go between 0 and 10. So we'll give it a 1 in 10 chance. That's probably way too high because there's 16 times 16. How many trees? I'm thinking that each chunk should actually only have like 3 trees. So let's just do 16 times 16 divided by 5, because sometimes, so 51. So that would mean every 51 blocks, we want to try to put one down. So we'll do 0, 51, and then we'll say, so every 51 we want to try it. And we'll say if rand is less than 1, so if it chose 0 to 1, which is a 1 in 51 chance. Well, 2 in 51 technically, but no, it can't be 1. It has to be less than 1. So it's a 1 in 51 chance that this will happen. And if it does, we get the height data. We say if chunk.terrain x height z dot get id equals, actually going to just do equals block types dot grass, and then we're going to do something magical here. We're going to say chunk dot set block new block log, because logs actually aren't static. That's going to complain? No, it isn't. It should be complaining, but that's fine. Then we're going to say x height z. Oof. Okay, so no. A player did not do this. And then direction dot up. So it's facing up. It's going to be turned in the normal direction. We do want it to skip block updates, ignore anything it broke, and ignore it being placed because it was done by the game itself, not by a player. So that is all of the complexity. So now we're going to pop over to terrain generator, and after we're done doing this, so we already want this to be done, and then we're going to do shoot. Okay, so we're going to have already. Do we have to? I think we can just do it here. We can determine oh shoot, this shouldn't be per chunk, this should be per column. Well, that makes it so much more complicated though. And that gets rid of like all of the work I just did. That was a waste of time. Well then, okay, that's fine. I won't complain. Honestly, we can make this so much easier in so many ways. So this is an example of doing something overly complicated, realizing you made it overly complicated, and now it's time to actually fix that because I've made a horrible mistake. So we're gonna restart this, and this is going to be painful. Okay, we're going to grab this because this is all that's important. We're gonna murder this. I'm gonna murder this. These aren't actually... We may use this in the future for something, so I'm actually just going to do that and remember that that's there. So instead we're going to do X, int Y, int Z. Wow, that's much more simple. And chunk. Okay, that makes it slightly more easy, I guess. We still need to do a random thing. Int rand equals new equals chunk dot random dot rain dot next. of course. 0.51. If rand is less than 1, then we do this. Don't need to remind this because that's not necessary anymore. Wow, look how much more simple that is. Now over here, we're going to say blah, 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 blah. Okay, ignore all of that. So after this is all done being stupid, I'm gonna do if height equals base height. So if it's the very top, then we do biome dot populate chunk x height z chunk. Look at that, that's beautiful. That is absolutely beautiful. Let's see what happens. This is interesting. Okay, so things are freaking out. Okay. Got it. Things are actually freaking out. So what's freaking out? Key for region not found because we tried to divide by 0 somewhere. Oh. Yes. How do we make sure that we can't divide by this because it can be 0? Okay, well, we'll just do, times whatever. Not a perfect solution, but it works. Once again, it just needs to be a kind of random number. It doesn't have to be perfect. There we go. Now that we're not dividing by 0 anymore. Will it work? That's the question. Will there be random logs scattered? Okay, so we've got more errors. Array index is out of range. Oh shoot. Yeah, that's a good point actually. That's a great point. We have to just do if height equals base height, then we have to do height yeah, that's true. That is actually true. That is not only out of the array index, that's about 1,000,000 out of the array index. So, good job, me. You want to work now? No, you don't. What is not set to an instance of an object? That is not set to an instance of an object, and that is not set to an instance of an object. Okay, but why? I would like to know why. How can I create this? Oh. Well, something's going wrong. I will admit that I'm not 100% sure what's failing here. So we have empty bits of terrain. Why is this happening? What would cause something to be empty? Whoops. No, but really, what's causing it to be empty? Did I mess up something else somewhere else? That's the question that we have to ask. Does it directly have to do with this? If it doesn't, then I've made a bad mistake. Okay, so that's working. Good, very good. So why does adding this back make blocks not exist? Biome.populate chunk. Biome, populate chunk. If it is block grass, set the block to a new block log. What the heck? Just for testing purposes. Oh, I set this to null, didn't I? That is probably the issue, actually. What does these what does this even use? Chunk player. What are you actually using the player for? Player. You don't even use it for anything if we ignore all of that. So why are you freaking out? Oh, okay, here's our problem. We're pulling an update chunk when we do that. We cannot do that. So that gets more complicated. So if we get a block instead... Okay, I get it. Chunk.get block X Y Z equals, I can set things this way, right? New block log. Are you going to be extremely angry at me for doing that? Yeah, that's what I thought. Fine, we're going to do things the hard way then. Okay. New UI equals y plus 1 if y is greater than 15. It's greater than 15, then chunk dot neighbors dot north dot terrain x0z equals new block log else chunk dot terrain X, Y, Z equals new block log. That's not right, though. That is not right at all. Block log equals new block log log dot oh, you gotta be kidding me. Oh. There we go. That's the issue. Block log same log dot set facing. Come on, set facing. That's gotta be a thing I set. No? Oh my, this is a mess. Yeah. Really? Blow, avoid, rotate. That's what I thought. I knew that was there. Log dot rotate. Here we are. Direction dot up. Turn direction dot normal. Yes. Whoa. Yeah, we did it. Bam. That should work. And then we just have to do equals log or equals log. Oh, that took too much effort. Okay, please work. Fingers crossed. You want to work now? No errors, 0 errors. Yes! Woo! Okay, so that's not right. It's supposed to be +1. So there we can see logs randomly being placed in the grass. Now instead, it's supposed to be 1. No, that was right. That was right. This isn't right. That's not even needed. Okay, so this is kind of just a proof of work. Yeah, that's not the proof of work I was looking for there. Okay. Ready for this? This is gonna be beautiful. Okay. I'm not liking the fact that I'm randomly falling into nothingness. I'll be honest. That's a bad sign. Okay, I'm officially slightly worried now. What's wrong? Oh, jeez. What? 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 How is this out of range? Oh. Whoops. That should be better now, I think. I made a slight mistake there. Please work. Aha! Desert. That's not exactly what I'm looking for, though. I'm looking for some nice stumps. Tree stumps. Come on. Tree stumps. No. No tree stumps. Instead, everything is dead. Okay. What do you mean chunk.neighbors.north isn't... Yes, you can have a cookie, I guess. Shoot, the north neighbor doesn't actually exist yet. You know what? It'll get rid of a few trees, but I'm actually going to... There's no need for it to do this for its neighbor. Its neighbor can do it itself. If y is less than 15. Honestly, I'm just overcomplicating things now. Come on. Come on, just show me some tree trunks. No tree trunks? That would be mildly depressing. I do not see any tree trunks. Or they're just extremely rare for exactly no reason. There's dirt. We've got an issue. Huh. Come on, just give me some logs. Somewhere. Just a single log. I'm actually slightly confused on why this isn't working now. Oh, did I swear if I'm that stupid. Did I leave this commented out? No, I didn't. Okay, so then you get a biome, populate chunk. If it's 1 in 51 blocks, if the terrain is block grass, there. If y is less than 15, then 1 up is a log. Huh. I do notice, you guys, I am just in the middle of severely thinking because this is very odd. I'm not sure why this isn't working anymore, like, I'm quite confused. If y is less than 15... try this with dirt to just make sure it isn't the block itself that's confusing it. Debugging. No, there's no random dirt sticking up anywhere. Aha. So what the heck is going on here? That is the question to be asked. Because we did have random stuff all over the place before, which was good. We've got the chunk we're messing with. We have our random number. Let's just do if 1 equals 1. So we're going to try to put it on top of every single one now to see if that's what's messing with it. Wow, snow. Huh. How high up are we? We're over 600. It's a snowland, guys. It's a winter wonderland. Nope, there is. I have never seen it go this high without serious mountains involved. It's quite impressive. It's a winter wonderland. Not a very big one, but oh, I guess it goes this way a bit more. Okay, so once again, nope. Okay, something's wrong here. I cannot add Crash Bandicoot. That would be the largest copyright infringement of all time. Oh, shoot. Fell a little bit too fast there. Do. Nothing. At all. Why are you doing this to me, game? This is very mean. This is an issue. I am getting slightly worried. It's when I changed that, it stopped working, but that makes no sense. I was just preventing errors. Every single Y isn't 15. That doesn't even make sense. It's just gonna give me errors now. No, it's just going to do nothing now. What? No, it gave me an error. That's what I thought. What are we sending as Y? That's a good question. This is confusing. Okay, but really, what is going on here? If height is equal to the base height, which means it's level. Populate the chunk. To populate the chunk, we just jump over here to biome populate chunk. We generate a random number between 0 and 51. If it is 0, thanks, Tommy Store, for the advice. Let me try that. Do you really think I'm that stupid? Like, if I'm programming, just like straight up programming for an entire stream, do you really think I'd fall for deleting system 32? Come on. Come on. Okay, now getting back to this. We do have an issue, which I don't understand at all. This doesn't make any sense. So we're going to do... Okay, so back to here. We're gonna just do a bit of debugging because I am confused. So if it's less than 1, we're gonna do debug.log tree possible. So that'll tell us, are we actually getting any randoms under 1? Yes, we fell through the ground, but we can see here that it says tree possible. So that was 100 assigning trees possible. So now we're going to come over here and we're going to put it here. Let's see if it can be possible here. Tree possible. Yes, we still have possible trees, and we have thousands of possible trees. So we know that that's working. But now, question is, what's going on here? Why is it not getting past here? Or is it getting past here and we just don't know? So let's see. No, trees are still possible according to the game. So it's getting to this point. So it's getting here. What's going wrong, though? We'll put a test block there to see if it's the type of block messing with it. It's not placing down the test block, which... Or is it? Am I making an assumption here? Is it going underground? Do we have a serious problem here I'm not aware of? What is actually happening? Actually, the chances of me finding it would be extremely low. So it may not be worth bothering. Still enjoying digging. Searching for a test block. But why would adding one make it go down? That doesn't make any sense. We have a serious mistake somewhere, and we have to catch it. And I do not think it has to do with it going underground. For some reason, it's not taking... It's not changing it. I don't know why, though. Okay, so if it's getting here... and it's actually not doing anything, we'll do two things. We'll restart the editor. Occasionally there can be something wrong with the thing, but... Restart Vooperia. Figure out what the heck we're doing with our lives. Because I'll be honest, this is getting very annoying, very tedious. I hate it when I have these errors, because you have no clue what's causing them. You have to hunt them down, and they're usually something really dumb. Does it work now that we restarted it? Come on. Come on. Come on. Oof. We've went through the ocean. Nothing. Okay. That's fine. I shall not complain. Oop. That's the wrong screen. So this shouldn't be open even. So what is our issue? Jump back to Biome. I know why. I know why. I know why. Because we're setting it and then we're just resetting it 2 seconds later. That makes more sense. Yes, yep, that's our problem. That's it. I figured it out. Block. Terrain. Bam. That's it. That was the issue. Here we go. Music back on because I figured it out. Or not. Or it can just be dumb. That's fine. Or I think I figured it out. Maybe not. Well, that was at least one problem. Let's figure out the second one then. Did we actually save that after we did it? Yes, we did. Okay, that's disheartening. So now what's the problem? That's a great question. Okay, I've been thinking. This isn't gonna work. For sending it over multiple chunks, this just isn't going to work. I'm going to have to program in a whole new system for this. Sorry to disappoint, but there's a lot more work that has to be done to add trees, and thinking about it a bit, it's not going to happen today. I'm going to have to type in an entire new system, which will take a few hours. So I think we're going to end things here. We did a bit of work on biomes. We attempted trees. It's not going to happen this time, but it's going to be happening soon. But thank you all for watching. Leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed, even though we didn't do exactly what I was hoping to. But, the amount of time it's going to take to pull this off and the amount of changes I'm going to need to make to the game system. I will stream next time I'm close so that you guys can actually see me pull it off, but there is work to be done by far. So I will see you all next time. Apologies, I really did want to get this working, but there are real reasons why it's not going to work. I'll see you all next time.